Hi, Lisa White with IVF Manifesting a Miracle for a new Soul Sister conversation with my friend AshleyDePaulis. Hey, Ashley.
Hello, Lisa.
I'm
So
so
happy
glad
to
we're
be
doing
here.
this. Thank you for joining me for this talk. So this is 2022. You're my first Soul Sister talk of the new year.
Mm.
And today we're going to cover a fun topic that I think many will relate to, being over it.
We're over it. So over it.
We're over it. We'll get into it, but I want to introduce you. And you are the founder of Embodied Success. You're an embodiment coach. We know each other here in Colorado. And I'd love for you to kind of share a little bit about what is an embodiment coach and just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Ashley, everyone. Nice to meet you. And embodiment coach. So when I started my career or started running my own business, I started out as a fitness trainer and a health coach. So I have long been helping people connect to and live in their body, because a lot of times when we are injured, have health challenges, feel really stressed, which stress is the focus I have now in my work, we disconnect and we can't seem to, or what happens is we feel disconnected from our body, we feel disconnected from our feelings, and we just have these constant running thoughts that tend to be pretty negative. So I, as an embodiment coach, help you shift out of that. So it's moving into more present moment awareness, what step you can take, what choice you can make after you tap into that. Okay, I know I'm not feeling my best, or I notice that my thoughts are running wild. How can I change this? What do I need right now? What does my body need right now in this moment? So it's not any different from somebody who would say, oh, I'm a self-care whomever or coach, or the work that you do with your clients. It's like addressing the need in the moment so that we don't end up spinning out of control. And then over time, as we practice that, it becomes more embodied as a habit, as a way of life, as a way of being.
It's
so you don't have to think about it.
Overlaps in a lot of areas. You know, my work is specifically focused within the fertility space, women going through IVF. And I know you don't personally know that ride, but you understand. I mean, we all go through stress and overwhelm, fear of the unknown. There's just a lot of different challenges that my clients go through, you know, feelings of kind of hopelessness and almost being detached and out of your body as you're going through this ride. It's such a medical process. So yeah, with this theme that you and I talked, being over it, in what ways are you feeling over it? Let's just have a fun, engagement. We're over it. We had 2020, 2021, we're in 2022.
Yeah, I'm over COVID, as is everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just over it. Even though I also believe that it's brought a lot of good along with the not so good.
I agree.
And this year already, I mean, these years for me haven't been as tumultuous as they have for some people, but that's not to say they haven't been challenging. Each year has gotten better. And this year to me feels energetically more clean and clear.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that. It feels lighter. And I'm just kind of over the constant negativity. Like there's just so much negativity rising up, and it's okay to witness it, but let's not continue to play with it. Like, can we play somewhere else, please?
Right. And it's a choice, right? We get to choose. And it's about that self-awareness, which you and I understand, and helping others, you know, tap into their own awareness, you know, to navigate through challenges, to navigate through really hard things. And we all experience it. And COVID has brought so much to the surface, right?
Yes. What about you? What are you over?
Oh my gosh. Well, as you know, and those in my community, my Instagram account recently got hacked and I just got it back, but that was kind of some 2 weeks of hell, to be honest. It was just like being misrepresented, being hacked, having no control over that, which, life is bigger than an Instagram account. I understand that. But kind of over, there's so many things. Letting social media like take over our life in a lot of different ways, like taking our power back, taking control of what we're paying attention to, where our energy goes, what we're focusing on, and letting go, I guess, over not shining our light, right? Like spreading our message. And you and I being here in Colorado, and we've had a history of being in really like empowered women's groups, right? And book club. And you were a speaker at a really awesome event through our friend Ellen Moore, the bitch slap of truth. Like we're here to speak and stand up, and like I'm just over the like small talk, right? Over just playing small. So stuff like that. That's why you and I are here.
Yes. And I think sometimes with the, I guess the negative energy that's out there, that'll always be out there. Sometimes it can start to feel like a wet blanket on top of your message or what you're trying to share, because it can be challenging when you know that people are experiencing hardship, to show up and be like, hey, you want to have awareness about and you can change the direction of your life.
Yeah. Well, you and I are both about empowerment, and the women that you and I serve, women who want to actively change their life. And we're not for everybody, right? We don't want to be for everybody. So I believe, with the community that I serve and the women who are navigating through IVF, having personally ridden this ride, you don't just want to survive through it, like just not get through it. And I think you can relate to that with your clients. It's like, let's help women thrive through some challenging shit, right?
Yes, indeed.
So stress is a big area that it's kind of unavoidable, right? I mean, what is your thoughts around stress? What are your thoughts about that? How we can use a more embodied approach to tune into our body when we are encountering stressful events.
Yes. Stress is unavoidable, but burnout you don't have to live in burnout. So my own experience with stress outside of, I worked in a cardiovascular lab. That was one of my first jobs. So it was we were doing stress testing. And so I have a history of education in that area. But my personal experience, outside of just experiencing everyday stress because of life, was healing from PTSD, because I was in numerous auto accidents. I broke my back, and a ton of other bones. And, that was the first time that I learned that the physical aspect of healing is quite easy because your body has a process that it goes through, but the mental emotional aspect that can carry that chronic stress with it is what can hold you back or keep you in that survival mode that you spoke to. But we definitely don't have to live there, and we have to, part of how embodiment plays into that is when we have awareness of our patterns. Like people have awareness usually of their behavior patterns, and they're like, I want to change this habit, but I can't. How do I do it? Well, there's an underlying pattern of stress or conditioning that is running the show of that. So when you have awareness of those things and how it shows up within your body, because it carries a pattern within your body, part of my, I guess, superpower, as I can say here, that's harder to explain, is when I'm working with somebody and hear the stories, because there's a typical story that shows up over and over again for them, and how that story plays out in the body, because our patterns show up in our joints, they show up in our muscles, they show up and a pattern. So it's when we have awareness of that, and it's like, oh, here I'm telling the story again. It's showing up in my body like this. Here's the tool. Here's a practice that I can do to help shift it in the moment, instead of carrying it along with me and then having I'll call it an eruption, whether that's a verbal thing that comes out of your mouth towards somebody that you love, or whether it's a behavior pattern that you want to stop, like emotional eating, or choosing the wrong partner, whatever it may be.
Right.
So yeah,
and it's like rewiring. I mean, I think the first step, would you say, is like bringing awareness to the
awareness.
Do you focus more starting out within the body, because being an embodiment coach, or helping bring awareness to like their thinking pattern, if they're telling the story over and over and over, which I see that too with, with women in the fertility community. It's like, what story are you playing in your head? What are your beliefs about this ride and IVF and this journey?
So it is bringing awareness to the story. So the thoughts that show up, and the story that we tell, and how it's rooted. Like, is it rooted in perfectionistic behaviors? Is it rooted in, what's it rooted in? But where is that root in the body? So it's both. The body and mind is not separate.
Exactly.
So I don't separate it out, I guess. But it's easiest for people at first, especially if they're not able to, if they have pain in their body, and it doesn't feel comfortable to go there. It's easier to access the story than it is to connect with the body. But we close that gap. And usually I close that gap through movement, breath, creativity.
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful. It is a whole body awareness, and everything is integrated, the mind, body, and I would add in the spirit, too, the spiritual component. As I was saying a little bit earlier, it's like within this fertility ride, women often get so detached from their body. And it is such important work that you and I do, is like bringing people back home into their body to feel again, to feel. And in my book, I write a whole chapter about this. It's like looking at the senses and the sensory systems. And I know you're really big on talking about that too, more of like interoception. Can you talk about what that is? Really getting out of your head and more into your body.
So noticing interoception is noticing, what sensation does that bring up within my body? Do I get chills? Does my heart start racing? Do I notice that I'm not breathing, or when I do breathe, it's only in my throat and my chest? And like, where can I bring more breath into my body? So it's those more subtle sensations that are showing up that can direct you where you can bring more aliveness into your body. And it's doing it in a safe, slow way.
Yeah. No, I just think this is so important. It's just these simple tools that are available to us at any given moment, right? Like, I think so much of the time people think they have to look outside of themselves.
Yes.
It's like, let's just bring it all back here. Having a guide to like tap into this and to give us feedback. And it's like, it's just so important to listen to our bodies, right? We're in this vessel where we think like we're so detached, but it is like our bodies are telling us and teaching us all the time, like always communicating with us.
Yeah. And it communicates, it gets louder and louder through pain. Like, pain is one of the last signals that we receive, but it starts showing up in, our sleep patterns and things like that people recognize, but they're not connecting the dots of, oh, I'm not sleeping well. I'm probably stressed or worried about my, appointment with my doctor is this fertility going to take, all of that. They're not connecting the dots. I was with a client yesterday where I was like, she's just not connecting the dots right now.
Yeah.
I am not over it.
Over it. I'm sure, it's like we're all just many people just like kind of trying to survive, right?
Yeah. And when you're in that space too, your vision narrows. You can't access the part of your brain that allows you to make good decisions, executive decisions. Yeah. So that's why you can be kind of all over the place, not connecting the dots. Everything feels overwhelming, which is why it's good to have a guide to be like, just adjust your focus.
Let's slow down.
Come back here.
And I think I was reading an article recently that you have written, and it's like, notice what you're noticing. So simple, right? So simple to help people just be observant of their own life, be observant and be curious. Like, can you share some practical like tips or things? Like if someone is just feeling in this complete overwhelm, their fight or flight state, we're trying to tap into the parasympathetic state and get a little calmer, like what would be a couple of things that you could you guide people through or help people and to get into the space of notice what you're noticing?
My favorite ways, or what personally are easy access points for me, is using my sight, my vision, because that's an easy way to notice what we're noticing. What is your attention, especially when we're sitting in front of a computer all day, is our head down and we're just looking at a screen and we're not actually taking our gaze up and looking around, because that completely changes our perspective. When we're in a narrow perspective all day, our thoughts are going to be very linear and narrow. Simply by lifting your head up and looking around, and even better if you can do this outside, you can start noticing different things and just, the bird that's flying in the sky or the sun or the cloud, whatever it is.
Right.
That's a way to change your focus.
But like literally.
That's one.
Our visual system, right?
Yeah, literally. The other I really like is touch. So touching your own body can just bring you more into that present, wherever it may be, whether it's on your arms, on your thighs. I always have clients who will ask, like, if I get triggered in a meeting, what do I do? Like, take a breath, place your hands on your body, press your feet into the floor. So it's those grounding, those things can ground you. Touch can ground you, pressing your feet into the floor, finding your breath. And then if you notice that your breath is, very much in your throat or your chest, or it feels panicky, vision, especially if you feel panicky, but how can I slow my breath? Because you have control over that.
Yes.
So it's bringing your awareness to that and how you can, how can I work with this? How can I find more rhythm in it? How can I find more space? Because a lot of times, we're not breathing into our back and our sides and our belly. It's all like up here.
Totally. No, I was just taking some notes. It's like, I think many people are living in like a contracted state, almost like, ooh, like where everyone's just kind of like, kind of, so it's where
I have the claw hands.
All about like expansion, right? Expansion of our thoughts, and that affects behavior, that affects our body, that it's all interrelated. So being more in an expanded mindset.
Yeah, even just opening up your hands at your side, like literally taking your hands out, palms forward, so that opens you to something new. So it's your physiology and psychology is a feedback loop. You don't have to sit there and intellectually think, oh, I want to change this thought. Like, change the position of your body, change your gaze, change your breath, change
simple things. It's like
moving around,
moving your body. I like how you call them, I've read in your past posts, like mini recess breaks.
Yes.
Just have fun and play. It's like, this doesn't have to be hard. We don't need to make things harder. I'm all about like lightening the load, making things easy, quick. And it's like, this does not have to be complicated.
It's not complicated. It's subtle because it's simple. I don't remember who I heard that from, but I heard somebody say that. And I was like, that is so true.
It's not subtle, but simple.
No, it's subtle because it's simple.
Oh, it's subtle because it's simple. Got it. I like that. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. So like you've mentioned unclenching your jaw, I know in the past. And what about like releasing our pelvic floor? Have you heard of that? When you just let go of those muscles in our pelvic floor, I've heard like that is such a powerful, just mind body kind of connection when you just can release that space, how like you do soften in a lot of places.
Anyway. You do soften in your throat and your jaw too. When that's a little easier to connect. I'm not saying you can't connect to it. The more body awareness you have, the easier it is to connect more deeply with that. Because your pelvic floor is so intrinsic. I think the breath is one of the best ways to get at that. And one thing I learned a few years back is, and this is an exercise that somebody could do to learn about this or make this connection. So if you lie on your belly and you place your hands on your sit bones, so the bones at the bottom of your butt, and you take a breath in, so that's your pelvic floor rising to your diaphragm, and you take a breath out, it's dropping down to those sit bones, and you can actually feel in your hands and feel within your body the movement of that. So that's your pelvic floor.
Lying face down.
Yes, lying face down, hands to your sit bones.
Your glutes. That's really good.
So but I think the breath is one of the best ways to start connecting there. When we're stressed, as we were saying, we're not usually breathing into the belly. So bringing that, like seeing your belly expand and contract and expand and contract, your pelvic floor is moving as you do that. So
yeah, diaphragmatic breathing, really getting more into that, the belly breathing, right?
One of the big things that happens a lot with exercise and lifting heavy, and even if it's not, because I did a lot of body weight training that was gymnastics based, so I was lifting my body in all kinds of different positions that would be like lifting really heavy weights. But a lot of women will breathe incorrectly. They'll push as they're pushing. So they're bottoming out their pelvic floor,
right,
as they're lifting, which you want to relax and lift versus doing the opposing things at the same time.
No, yeah. Share a little bit about your background, because that's when I met you. You were doing a program, or you created something called the Inner Athlete. Right. And isn't it interesting how some of our pain often becomes our purpose, right? Like what we've lived through and how we support others. And how does that relate to the work you're doing now? You still pull a lot of your background, I'm sure, into the work.
Yeah, I definitely still use that. I don't speak always specifically so the program that I created was called the Inner Athlete Advantage. And it was in part bringing awareness to the body.
Yeah.
It was also focused around movement and what you're eating. Also, what I found with that, all the people that it attracted, because I spoke a lot to injuries and health challenges, because that was my personal experience, I attracted people that didn't necessarily need personal training. They needed the recess and relaxation. They needed to learn how to manage their stress. So that's how it's been refined. I still love the avatar of the inner athlete, because I've always seen the inner athlete as a navigator of your internal world. Even though I didn't always speak to it in that way, because people would be like, what is she talking about?
A navigator of your internal world. Yeah,
especially years ago, people would be like, what? But that's kind of how I've always seen it.
Yeah, it's a constant refinement, right? Like getting clear on our own unique offerings and what we bring. And
so now I'm really into one thing I'm creating, since you mentioned recess, I'm creating what's called Recess in the Club, which is going to be all about bringing breaks to your workday, recess breaks to your workday. And that will be opening this month. And along with that, the program that I have now is called Vital Body. So it's all about your vital body and finding that expression, tapping into the creativity of that. So it's all that expansive aspect of self.
Be a whole nother talk. Yeah. I'm really big on tapping into the creative space, and devote a whole chapter in my book on the power of art and creativity. And having the background as an occupational therapist, it's like when you're engaged in a meaningful task, when you're engaged in something that where you get in flow, you get in the flow state. And it's when you're trying to birth a baby, trying to conceive. I mean, what better kind of energy than to tap into the creative energy, right? That creative art, let yourself be free and play and have fun. And I was doing painting, all kinds of fun stuff. That really helped me to like let go and be more embodied. Right.
So what do you find with the women that you work with when you mention, and I'm sure you tactfully or subtly do this, the play aspect? Are they like, oh, I don't even know what I like to do?
Because it is something that many women struggle with, remembering like who they are and what they love to do, what lights them up and what brings them joy. We spend time on that. But I, for example, have a client who she's had a little boy. When I worked with her, she told me she loved horseback riding. She used to love that. Being around horses, and she hadn't been around them for a long, long time. And I connected her with a friend who's got some horses, and she's a Reiki master with her horses, and just how moving that was to get in that space again, being around the horses. And it was really, really powerful. And another one, like dancing. People just forget like the simple things that they love to do. If it's taking a dance class, one of my clients like signed up for a contemporary dance class. And we get so stuck in our body when we're navigating through these life challenges, right? We forget like life can be more fluid and fun. And so she's back like in that and seeing changes show up in her life. Cooking is another one that a lot of people COVID too has been a gift in that way. You know, people are rediscovering like what they love to do and tapping back and more into the roots of like just using your hands again. That's one thing with technology, right? It's like, it's a gift, but then it's like you said, everyone's head is down. And then there's like now the thumb, the joint pain of the texting, or the neck pain. What is it called? Isn't it tech neck? Isn't there a word for that?
Yes. And then they call these, even though they happen anyways, like your text lines, like your, I have them.
There's gotta be like, I'm sure some, what is it? Plastic surgeon out there, like using the term, let me help you with your text lines. Oh my God. That's crazy. But no, I would say most women, it's I'm gently reminding them about the power that's within them. To tap into that innate source of like, like that little girl who used to love to do this and that is still in there. You like to play in the mud, you play in the mud, whatever it is. Like you miss like going explore. I just did a solo road trip this last weekend, and I have not done a solo trip like that. And I can't remember when. Having a 4-year-old now, it's like, it was the most restoring, replenishing thing to just go play by myself for a while, you know, like travel, try a new restaurant, went to the hot springs, laying under the stars with the new moon. It was like amazing, but yeah, like we come back stronger, more fueled and more full.
Yes.
So for our partners, for our friends, we show up in a more amplified way when we take the time to play. So I love creating. How can everyone find you and your recess breaks, what you're creating? I know you're on Instagram and share all your handles and where people can find you.
Like my handles, what are they? Yes, I'm on Instagram at AshleyDePaulis. I think there's a period between Ashley and DePaulis.
We'll link everything too.
Okay, perfect. I spend most of my time sharing content, even though I do share it on Instagram, over on LinkedIn, because I am focused on workers, people who are working, companies, organizations. So my big stretch is to work with people-centered organizations. I want to bring the body back to business.
Yeah. Have you put that as your tagline? I like that.
I say bring body awareness back to business, because I don't know if people in a tagline would get that right away. I think they get it when I say it, but they might be like, body. Is she going to be stripping? Like, what is that?
Let's play.
So I have a version of that. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I will be sharing on Instagram about Recess in the Club. That I'm actually going to be, that whole community, that whole platform is going to be through Mighty Networks. I'm taking it off of social media because I don't want to be, I spend my time on social media for work, but I don't want to be creating everything on social media. I kind of want a more private place for all this to go down, not because it's stripping.
You seriously got my mind going. I'm thinking of things like strip that away and strip that away.
I like that. That's good.
Strip it away and like embody whatever you want to bring.
Yes.
Yeah, you could tie that in. I mean, in the club, I'm like, stripping in the club.
Yes, I have all these like great ideas for in the club. The other day I was walking and I was like, the club needs a rage room.
Oh my gosh, we need to talk after this call and we'll like we could chat for a while.
Yes.
No, but helping individuals thrive. I love that's what you're about, not just survive through the workday, but like let's really tap in, turn in our light, tune in, and like feel alive again, right? It's at our fingertips.
It's gonna make you better at your job, and companies.
It's a win-win for everybody.
Care about that, in my opinion. If we're spending most of our time working, like, shouldn't we be having fun?
Totally. In the club. I love it. Well, I've loved talking with you. I'm so glad we're friends and hopefully we'll get together in person.
I lost you for a second.
Uh-oh. Are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here now.
Okay, good. I just thank you so much for having this conversation. And there's so much we can chat more about. I'm really grateful that we know each other here in Colorado. And I'll connect. I'll list all of your notes, all of your contact info in the notes. So for anybody who's struggling through the roller coaster of IVF, looking for some more soulful support, getting in alignment, I'm your girl, and I'm at IVFmanifestingamiracle.com. So stay tuned for another Soul Sister conversation soon. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon.
All
Bye.
Right. Bye.